All right, what's up, guys? Back here with another video for you. I got an LP update for you. Sorry I'm a bit later than I like to be. I've just had a crazy busy couple of weeks here, just doing work stuff and being out of town. But we just got dumped on with like a almost knee-high snow within like 30 hours here in Wisconsin. So I got a little bit of downtime this Sunday night. So I'm going to be chilling, talking about some records, drinking a beer, the usual. So what we're listening in the background is this album, Antiochia by Bonn from Germany. This is a German kind of ambient black metal, really hazy, kind of neoclassical, really fuzzy, really hazy, kind of very good. I like it a lot. So if you're not familiar with this, it's out on Grief Foundation, and the Daniel from Ahab actually plays lead guitar in like on like a couple of these tracks here. So I would definitely recommend you check this guy out if you like kind of ambient black metal. 'Tis the season. This is usually when I like it, is when the snow starts falling. Yeah, and we're drinking a beer here. This is the Exchanging Pleasantries by Dimensional Brewing Company, Hazy Double IPA. It's been sitting in my fridge, and I don't usually drink a ton of IPAs in the winter, but when I opened the fridge, it kind of jumped out at me. It sounded real good. So, Nazdrovje. It's wonderful. Yeah, it's Citra, Strata, Nelson Sauvin, and Sub-Zero Hop Keef. So it's nice and aggressive. That has a nice color too, but I don't care enough to pour it in a cup. Then I have to wash it. Anyway, so we are going to discuss quite literally 3 of my favorite metal albums of all time in this update. And we're going to start off with one of them. This is Wintersun with the self-titled Wintersun album. I'm an absolute and total sucker for this band. The first 2 in particular, but this record especially, the self-titled debut. If you're not familiar with Wintersun somehow, this is a Finnish kind of symphonic, melodic death metal band. Look at how pretty that is. Absolutely awesome gatefold there. I really love that. Let's see if there's any printed nonsense in here. I don't remember. But yeah, so I've been a huge fan of this album for a long time. This is something I kind of got into when I first started getting into extreme metal, and I was just really floored by how cool it was. Count Blagrith talked an absolute metric load about it when I first started watching him, and it was just something I was like, okay, well, I'll find it in the wild, and then I got it. I got Time 1 first, and then I bought this one. And when I got this one, dude, I was just floored. So yeah, first full-length record from 2004. The band was formed in 2003, at least under the name Wintersun. Here is the vinyl variant color. It's like a semi-translucent pinkish orange. It's kind of a strange color. It somewhat matches the sun in the photo. Excuse me. This door thing here. I think that's cool. I do really love a good matching vinyl variant. So, yeah, 2004 first full-length record from Wintersun. Yari is brilliant on this one. It was formed after he left in Zephyrum, as most of you guys probably already know. This is just a super lush-sounding album, man. The atmosphere is really good. The symphonic elements weave really well and add a lot to the kind of hyper-melodic, speedy death metal. There's a pretty obvious influence of like symphonic power metal on there, but it's not like in the corny way like Children of Bodom is, which I do like too, but I really love this. This is so much better. But yeah, it's just a shredding sections all over the place, and in particular, my favorite riff on this whole thing is the opening riff on the song Beyond the Dark Sun. The dun 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 dun. That riff, dude, is so good, and in particular that shred section right after that, where they transition to that next part of the album, so good. Just a super bombastic, over the top, great melodic death metal album. And I feel like all of you probably know it, but if you somehow don't, go buy a copy immediately. Absolutely wonderful record. Next is an LP from a band called Lycus, Lypus, L-Y-P-U-S, out of Oakland, California. formed in 2008. This is an LP out on Relapse. Really sick logo. Really sick logo. Nice and swirly if you're into that kind of thing. Nothing too crazy here. Another shot of that great logo. Yeah, so this is the second full-length record from 2016 from this band. If you're unfamiliar, it is like Funeral Doom, a very heavy death metal Funeral Doom. Black vinyl variant. Nothing too crazy, nothing that awesome on the labels either. It's just this kind of watercolor scenic painting going on here. So if you're not familiar with this album, like I said, it is a really great Funeral Doom album that is really based on death metal more than anything. So much so that it just kind of maintains a serious amount of heaviness, which I feel like a good amount of Funeral Doom bands kind of sacrifice their heaviness for the sake of the atmosphere. Now this band definitely is not quite as atmospheric as some of the other bands in the style, but it's really great. But it's very similar to stuff like Bell Witch, but with a lot less of the space. You know how Bell Witch is kind of like a full plate of nothingness, if you know what I mean. They really know how to use their space to create the atmosphere. This has a similar kind of sonic quality to Bell Witch. You know, the atmospheres are very similar to me, but it keeps that great heaviness with it. And it's a great record. I don't know what it is, but it's really crunchy and hazy and a little bit creepy. And I think that this kind of gives me like a city atmosphere. You know, I grew up going to a lot of shows in Chicago, and it just sounds like something you'd hear from a band at the Cobra Lounge, or somebody you'd meet at the Cobra Lounge would talk about stuff like this, if you get what I mean. Or the Bottom Lounge, if you're from Chicago, you know these places. It kind of sounds like that. It sounds like a city band, and they're really cool. I would highly recommend this if you like really nice doomy death metal that's pretty funeral in its essence. Back to another one of my favorites. This is one of my favorite bands ever, Panopticon, with the album Roads to the North. I've talked to death about this band and this album in particular. You guys are probably sick of hearing about it, but whatever. You're going to see it. So this is the LP reissue that recently came out with the super embossed snowflake or whatever that thing is. Big old booklet in here. I've always loved this photo. I think that's a pretty wild photo for a band photo. Yeah, great pictures inside here. I would imagine his wife Becca is responsible for such great photography. Really great. I picked this up at a record store in Appleton, Wisconsin, on my way up to play a show just outside of Green Bay with my folk band, and I had to stop, and I just like wound up running up on some bluegrass, some binder recordings material, as well as some like Oswald or Eisenwald, I don't remember, Eisenwald, good golly. Yeah, and I was super hyped on it. I think it was Eisenwald. Regardless, you'll see some of that in the CD collection update. And I was super hyped to find this stuff in the wild. So, gotta show you the LP variant because it's pretty sick. This like sky blue mixed with white swirl with the kind of Panopticon Kentucky crest looking like a patch on there. There we go. I don't know what that is, but yeah. So really great record. If you guys aren't familiar with this particular Panopticon record, it is their 2007, or excuse me, they formed in 2007 in Kentucky, now residing in Ely, Minnesota, which is way up there. And this in particular record is the 6th full length from 2014. This was the newest album at the point of which I got into Panopticon, and so it was like one of the first things I heard from this band. And because of that, it's one of my favorites. I've called it my favorite Panopticon record for a long time, but I'm starting to kind of question that a little bit lately, especially listening to some of the other stuff. And I still absolutely love it, and it still probably is my favorite, but it's a little bit more of a toss-up than it used to be. It's really melodic death metal inspired. You could definitely smell the At the Gates all over the place, as kind of exemplified by some of the chuggy breakdown parts that kind of was dumb. You get what I mean. There's some of those spots in there that have a bit of a breakdown quality to it, and some of the riffs are very melodic death metal, and Austin's vocals have kind of always been sort of in that mid-range death and black metal style of vocal, and it's just really great. They mix the string band thing in really, really well, the cool kind of bluegrass American folk music into it, and I think that's really awesome. I really do appreciate that about this band, because I'm a big bluegrass head. My band is kind of a bluegrass band, so this kind of stuff is awesome. I've actually played, I did an interview on a radio station, a local radio station for my band, and I played some stuff off of Kentucky for the bluegrass radio station here. And then it accidentally went into some blast beats right afterward. It was kind of funny. All right, next, another one of my favorite albums of all time, Opeth, with the album Damnation. This is their 2003 7th full-length album. Nice album cover that I don't really understand. You know, Opeth's album cover choices have never been their greatest selling point, I do have to say. But it does kind of capture the bleakness of this album very, very well. This kind of gray and white, high saturation photo. It kind of looks like an 1800s picture, which I think is pretty cool. And then there's this band photo, which is also a great band photo. It looks like a demo. My white balance is all jacked up on my phone, sorry. On the other side here, there's all lyrics. The black vinyl, nothing too crazy. Yeah, so this is their first non-metal album, or excuse me, not extreme metal album. You could probably argue this into being called a progressive metal album. It's like prog rock, prog metal, whatever you want to call it, somewhere in that general vicinity. It's chock full of catchy tunes. This is one of those albums that you could put on the whole album, and I know the words to all the songs. Maybe not all of them, but a good amount of it. And I've just heard this so many times. It came out accompanying Deliverance, which is my favorite Opeth album. And it is just a great companion piece to the kind of feral side of Opeth that was really exemplified on that album. This is a great accompaniment to that, because it's the chill side. You know, it's more of the relaxed side of Opeth, and the more songwriter based stuff that's a little more digestible for most people. Fun fact about this album is when I was in high school, my wife sat in front of me in front of the school bus, right? And I would always give her a hard time just because I'm a teenage boy, and that's what you do. And I kept yakking about Opeth at her, not to her, at her. I was mansplaining hard about how awesome Opeth is. And then, like, we started hanging out after we were out of high school a little bit, and then I looked on her phone, and she had this album downloaded. So I was spreading the disease, all anthrax puns intended, about Opeth, and this album in particular catches people who don't even really like metal, let alone death metal. All right, then I got two that I'm not as excited about, but they're still pretty awesome. It's hard to say as excited because I just pulled three of my favorite albums from three of my favorite bands. But this is Power Trip with Nightmare Logic. I've had the enjoyment of seeing this band a couple of times before Riley passed, RIP. And this is their second full-length record from 2017, Nightmare Logic. This is the one everybody knows. I feel like not really my thing most of the time. I'm not a super die-hard crossover guy, and I'm not as crazy about thrash as I was at the time where this came out, which is why I really liked it at the time. But I still do like thrash a lot. I listen to quite a bit of it, but it's not my bread and butter as it was when I was a teenager. And this is still a pretty decent record. It's kind of all of your expected nonsense of a crossover thrash band. Some of the lyrics are really freaking stupid, and yeah, just like all crossover bands. Really great vinyl variant of this kind of blue and white purple swirled vinyl. Not the most prominent swirl you've ever seen, but it looks really good, and I really do enjoy looking at it spin on the player. So if you guys haven't heard Nightmare Logic, it is chunky thrash, mosh fodder, riffarama kind of new age of old school thrash, new wave of new old school thrash, whatever you want to call it. This is one of the few bands that I think has like really maintained their motion while they were doing that style, even though the death of Riley's kind of thrown a wrench in that. But yeah, Power Trip, Nightmare Logic. And then lastly, a band from a classic, our classic album from a classic band. I love this band, but I don't listen to them nearly as much as some of the other stuff. But I always love it when I put it on, if that makes sense. This is Wheels of Steel by Saxon. I'm pretty sure I picked this up from Melanie Loves Death Metal, if I remember correctly, when she was doing a lot of her Big Cartel stuff. I think she still does quite a bit of that. I would keep up with her on Facebook because on Instagram, because she's posting about stuff randomly. Just a black career, yeah, I don't know. Carrere press, carrier press. Sounds a little French for my Slavic tongue. Yeah, Wheels of Steel is probably like maybe the fan favorite from this band. It could be this, could be Denim and Leather. I don't know. I would say Denim and Leather is my favorite Saxon album, but you know, whatever. So, Wheels of Steel, great. These guys are a traditional new wave British heavy metal band, and founded in '78, second full length from 1980. Yeah, I'm sure you guys have heard this, and if you haven't, I would be surprised, honestly, because this is such a staple of the genre. So I'm going to call it that. Next thing I got coming is a CD update. So I'm going to catch y'all in the next one. I should have 1 or 2 more videos up before the end of the year. I'm hoping maybe 3, depending on what I can scrounge up. And I'll catch y'all later. Keep it greasy.